Hello, and welcome back to Mums and Microbes, the podcast where we explore motherhood, health, and the invisible ecosystems that shape our health in general. We explore so many different topics, but let's get into today's episode. I'm your host, Michaela. I'm a naturopath, postpartum doula, and a certified baby wearing educator. So today I wanted to chat about sleep support. Big topic, so many avenues to go down. But I kind of just wanted to cover the basic things and just like maybe change some expectations around sleep in the first 12 to 24 months postpartum. Because a baby's sleep is obviously very different from an adult's, and it stays that way for a good long time. Um, and sometimes the health or sleep advice that parents get isn't necessarily helpful or productive to their specific situation, considering that every baby is a little bit different with their sleep needs and their sleep cues and all of that such thing. So today we're going to go through what's normal and how to support both mum and baby and other caregivers through the postpartum season. So obviously sleep is important for babies. It's important for their brain development. Um, they don't necessarily make long-term memories, but memory and learning, that sort of thing, and immune health. For mothers, so many avenues: hormone health, mood, milk supply, recovery from birth and pregnancy, along with immune system support, immune system regulation, and many other health avenues are affected by sleep. Um, there's two aspects to sleep as well. Sleep is a lot of biological factors, but also there are genetic components to sleep that will impact each person's sleep. And you might just have like the genes for a low sleep needs baby. And it's not your fault. It's nothing you're doing wrong. They just don't need as much sleep as others. There's a very wide variety of like the acceptable range of sleep for a baby, depending on their like, how old they are. Are they 2 months? Are they like 8 months? There's still like a few hours difference in between a low sleep needs baby and a high sleep needs baby in that range. So, as a doula, I will often see tension and frustration with new mothers about their expectations around baby sleep and what babies are actually biologically supposed to be doing. And as a naturopath, I obviously see the impact of chronic sleep deprivation um, on the mum's physical and emotional well-being. I've been through it. I understand it. The frustrations around baby sleep is so intense. And mostly it's just like honestly just putting realistic expectations on your baby or not having expectations of your baby's sleep. Like they're not going to follow the guidebook. They're not a robot. They're a baby. They will be different day to day as well. Um so what helps? Normal baby sleep when they're under 4 months old is light. It's frequent wakes. It's not long, massive naps. Like when they're a newborn, like the first week, maybe they will take big naps. But after that point, there's often a lot of short cat naps, as they're called, which are completely normal. That is how they're supposed to be sleeping. They don't go into a super deep sleep, or if they do, it's like for much shorter periods of time. And that's a protective factor as well. It reduces the SIDS risk. Um, Same with waking at night, shorter bursts of sleep with waking in between, like for feeds or change or whatever, or just like comfort is normal. It's exhausting as fuck, like so tiring, but it is normal. Um, for most mothers, and I'm going to give you a realistic, like, not expectation, but experience. For most mothers that I have worked with, and for myself, for nighttime sleep, once they're established, their day and night is different. They will generally, and not every child will be this because they all are different, they will generally sleep maybe like 1 to 2 hour blocks for most of the night. There is a first initial stretch, usually, that may be like 2, 3, 4 hours, maybe even longer for some kids. And then after that, there is more frequent wakes. And that's because once they have hit their own melatonin production, and they're not getting it from you anymore, the melatonin levels are just lighter, and that's that like second half of the night. So they will wake more frequently. Totally normal. You wake more frequently too. You just aren't awake for long enough to remember it most of the time. So yeah, having realistic expectations and like trying not to get frustrated at the fact they are waking up so much, as hard as it is, building a like sleep schedule, sleep routines, just areas that are going to get you more sleep, and we'll talk about these as well, is what's going to help you manage your way through this. Because it doesn't last forever, I promise. But they do still wake up typically at least once a night until they're like 2, 3, 4 years old, which is also normal. So practical support for babies during the day, depending on your baby, like everyone is a little bit different. Most babies are stage 5 clingers. They like contact, they like comfort, they like to feel you breathing and your heart beating to know that they are safe and that pretty much nothing's going to get them. So contact napping or baby wearing during the day will get you longer stretches of naps. And it might take away some of the frustration of getting them down for a sleep. You can obviously cot train for essentially you're sleep training them to be okay with sleeping in a cot. Some kids will just not accept that, okay? And it's not your fault, it's just the kid. Like there's some things that you're just not going to be able to get them to do sometimes. So working with what kid you've got, making sure that you can build a routine or some sort of process that's going to get them to sleep, but also not drive you insane. Some kids like white noise. It's pretty common for newborns to love a white noise. It's absolutely not necessary by any means. Some newborns also like swaddling, some don't. It's more common for them to like swaddling, but that's not going to be something you're doing forever either. And a lot of the time, they will like motion, movement. So if you're baby wearing or after you've contact napped, like they've passed out, sometimes they will still want that movement even in sleep. So if you stop moving, occasionally they will wake up. And it's again, nothing about your kid or you that is wrong. It's biological. That is normal for a child to want or seek movement even during sleep. As well as that, responsive feeding. Babies often don't just wake for hunger. They can also just wake up to sense that you're near and to know that they're protected. 99% of the time, promoting that day and night split as a newborn in the first week or two can really help encourage longer sleep at night. And building a routine around that can be beneficial. They don't need to nap in the dark during the day necessarily, but if you find that that makes your baby sleep better overall, you can do that. Like, no one's making you do anything specifically, except the baby, obviously. And when to seek support if your baby's like having a lot of trouble with sleep. So if they're extreme, they're waking every 30, 40 minutes, even overnight, maybe that's something you might want to look into. If there's any issues with feeding them or weight gain, definitely check with the GP first, obviously, but then maybe explore referrals to a lactation consultant, an IBCLC, who are experienced in feeding and will give you a lot more support in terms of how to encourage better feeds if there's issues, which may relate to growth problems and may relate to sleep problems. There are lots of other things that baby could be struggling with that might keep them waking up really, really frequently, like gas, tummy pain, reflux. Not having a full stomach is not often the case, that one. Just general discomfort or something has obviously alerted them and they're uncomfortable. And maternal sleep. So your sleep is obviously dependent on babies, unless you're taking it in split shifts with your partner, maybe if they're bottle fed. Obviously, this is different if you're breastfeeding. There's a lot more reliance on you, and you probably will be in charge of most of the night feeds, as expected, unless you're pumping. It might be a little bit different. Again, all situations are unique, so I'm just going over maybe things that might be more beneficial for breastfeeding mums in this case, or ones that are waking up whoever's in charge of the majority of night feeds. Uh, so realistic expectations. You will probably not sleep through the night for a good long time. And I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm trying to give you a realistic expectation so you don't get frustrated by the lack of your baby sleeping through the night. It is common for babies to not sleep through the night until they are minimum 12 months. Some babies are just magical unicorns and sleep through the night from like 4, 6 weeks old. Like I have met them, they do. Some might wake only once for a feed at night, even from that 4 week old kind of mark. Some might be waking more like 3, 4, 5, 6 times a night. It just depends on your baby as well. So, what we want to do for maternal sleep, or whoever's waking up for the majority of the feeds, is maximizing those chunks of sleep. And if you're bottle feeding, having as much stuff prepped as possible, like as much as you can before nighttime, trying to minimize the amount of time that you are awake with baby as much as possible. So moving the change table and stuff closer to the bedroom, having all the bottles ready, having all the formula weighed out if possible, like not weighed out, sorry, measured out. If you pre-make bottles for breast milk, having them measured out in the fridge, having the bottle warmer ready, not on, but like in a space ready to go. All of those sorts of things can be helpful at maximizing the amount of sleep you're getting. There are obviously for breastfed mums and bottle feeding mums, you can use safe bed sharing or safe co-sleeping to help reduce the amount of time you're up and about. Minimizing movement when you're waking up as well is going to help with you going back to sleep. If you're going to look at co-sleeping or even bed sharing, please do it safely. There's so many guidelines on this. Look up the Safe Sleep 7 and don't do silly things. Everyone wants to maintain as much safety as possible, especially with newborns. So daytime naps for mum, definitely recommend in the newborn phase as much as she needs. Like if she can get 20 minutes while the baby's sleeping in the cot or bassinet next to her, do it. If dad takes a walk or grandma, whoever takes baby for a walk around the block while mum tries to have a nap, do it. Whatever you're going to do that's going to maximize your sleep so that you don't feel as frustrated, as sleep deprived, which is going to drive your stress all over the place as possible. Things that you can also do in terms of other supportive tools during the postpartum period is definitely like magnesium, B vitamins, using relaxing herbs or nervous system aids like chamomile, lemon balm, passion flower. Most of those are safe with breastfeeding, but if it's a tea, 1 or 2 cups here and there is fine. Checking in with your thyroid and your iron levels to make sure that your exhaustion is, not just if there's any other underlying things why you're feeling so exhausted other than the sleep deprivation. And nervous system resets. If you can fit it into your day somewhere to remember to do some breath work, some meditation, some grounding, I would particularly recommend this mid-afternoon before it gets to witching hour for most babies. Just to, help things go a little bit more smoothly and reduce that cortisol spike for you so that your sleep in turn is a little bit more restful. And utilizing for mum or whoever's waking up for night feeds, community and partner support. So if possible, sharing night duties. In a breastfeeding mum, this might look like feeding baby and then dad takes, or whoever's, there, takes them off to have a nappy change, settle and pop back down. Again, maybe someone watches baby for a hot minute while you're getting a nap during the day. Maybe dad does the last feed of night while you go to bed early. So many different options that you can utilize to try and maximize your rest. I would emphasize, and this is really ideal when you only have one child. It's not so great when you have more than one. If someone else, like if you've got a partner home for bedtime and they can do the older children, go to bed with your baby. Maximize that first initial long stretch of their sleep while you're getting sleep too. That's going to make you feel the most rested. A minimum 3-hour block for a mum instantly makes you feel more relaxed and rejuvenated than getting like 1 hour before baby wakes up the first time, you know? So trying to maximize the blocks of sleep as well as the like total length of sleep. Um, yeah, other support to use is just mainly about minimizing energy output during the day, like meal trains, chores, if someone else can help out with those, reducing the mental load so that they can actually get to sleep. So much anxiety in that initial postpartum while your hormones are literally like sorting themselves out and they're up and down and all over the place. So yeah, anything that's going to reduce that mental load, that's going to reduce that anxiety, it's going to just give you more time to rest physically is beneficial for reducing the sleep deprivation effect. And then how mum and baby or whoever's running the night feeds is going to look at that for the long term. So babies until about 4 months old have a unique sleep cycle. They have short sleep cycles, 20 minutes or so. So they won't sleep like an adult, and forcing them to do so is ridiculous. When they reach 4 months old, they do have a longer sleep cycle, closer to 60 to 90 minutes, which is more typical of an adult. That doesn't mean that they will sleep, you know, that whole 90 minutes straight. Sometimes they will. And then at nighttime, you know, they might only need 10 hours at night with some wakes. They might need 12 hours at night with some or no wakes. It just depends on your child as well. And you can try all different things. No one says that you have to stick with one thing once you've set it up. It does help to be consistent because babies do typically like a little bit of consistency with transitions, especially when they're young and they still haven't fully gotten that developmental like phase of recognizing transitions. So nighttime rhythms that can help both is either like co-sleeping or a lot of contact before bed, something that's going to allow for easy feedings and a slow wind down into bed. Syncing the bedtime routine, so again, going to bed at a similar time, getting ready for bed at a similar time, even if you don't go to bed at the same time as your baby, like getting fully prepped. So the time when they're asleep initially is just for you or time with your partner. And definitely maximizing naps during the day, however they can be, you know, fit into the day. So babies don't need to be trained to sleep. They can sleep, but they need to feel safe and they need to feel supported to sleep. Obviously, as an adult, there are things that you might rely on to get to sleep initially at night, have like the dark room, maybe use noise or something, or like the fan on. Babies will develop similar cues and similar things that help them to sleep. Often that will be touch, contact, knowing that they're safe, either because a person is there or there's a noise that is imitating that. Mums don't need to do that all by themselves. They don't need to shoulder all of the burden of sleep deprivation. They need support to get through the sleep deprivation. So whoever's going to either reduce the need for stuff during the day or going to support some nap time or going to help them with nighttime support, whether that's getting some extra prep done, taking the baby for the nappy changes and the resettling, or occasionally doing a split shift for the night if they want to do that. Again, it depends on what mum want to do and what works for their family. So again, to wrap it up, babies don't sleep like adults. They will wake super frequently for a good amount of time, not just the initial newborn phase. You may have a super wakeful baby that wakes 3 to 4 times until they're like 18 months old. It really depends on them. And you will figure out along the way what helps with their sleep and what doesn't, what helps with your sleep and what doesn't. This is more so just giving you an expectation around what it can look like and how to kind of work with that to get the most amount of rest as possible for you. So yeah, babies thrive within a responsive sleep support. Again, that won't look like, potentially it won't look like a dark room with no noise and no person sitting in their cot alone in their room. It probably is going to look like contact napping for a good few months, at least initially during the day. At night, it can be a totally different story. You can have a baby who loves contacts during the day and will just happily sleep in their cot at night. It just really depends. And mothers will thrive when their rest is protected, whether that is actual sleep or just physical rest through the day as well. It's going to look different from pre-baby sleep. If this is your first child, there is no way that you will get back to that pre-baby sleep, unless you have a unicorn baby, of course, for the first 12 to 24 to 3 months, to 3 years, sorry, postpartum. It's just going to be a little bit different, and that's okay. It's not forever. It's always a short temporary period. And if you take one thing away from it, you're not failing if you're tired. There's so many things and so many resources out there to get you through that sleep support, sleep exhaustion. Reach out to someone who can help you. You know, there's plenty of resources around. If you don't have family and you have some funds spare, you know, maybe try out a postpartum doula, or maybe try out someone like a nanny or a babysitter who can watch them for a little bit during the day while you get an extra nap in. One extra nap in the week is life-changing sometimes, and you're doing the best that you can, obviously. No one does any otherwise if they care about their child. And it's okay to need help if you are sleep deprived, exhausted. Just figure out what's going to work the best for you and what sleep support or day support you're okay with. But yeah, try to accept help there. And if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with another mom or someone who's going into that postpartum period, just to really prep them. You know, it's not sometimes the most glorious thing, but everyone goes through it and we all come out on the other side. So if you want any more resources on postpartum health, sleep support, naturopathic care, etc., I am under Sage Postpartum now, so the website's a little bit different, but yeah. And until next time, take care of yourself and please take those small pockets of rest in your day.